Hey Pisces, welcome back to your sun sign horoscope for 2023. Do you like my new flair? Can you guess where I might have gotten it from? Okay, so I celebrate Christmas and it's from the top of my Christmas tree. They say you need something nice in the background when you're doing a video, so there you go. Okay, so Pisces, welcome back to your sun sign horoscope. For those of you who didn't see the first part, this horoscope covers the energies of the planets and transits as they relate to your specific sun sign placement. This isn't a rising or ascendant horoscope, so I won't be covering the houses in this forecast. I also just want to make a quick note to include the beautiful people who have your sun on a cusp. All right, so Aquarius, Pisces cusp, your birthday is generally February 17th to February 21st. I think Pisces officially starts on most Western astrology charts on February 20th. But you will still notice the energies of these transits like right before and right at the beginning of the dates that I'm mentioning for Pisces Decan 1. Okay, and Pisces cusp with Aries, which is me, if you haven't figured that out yet. Our birthdays are generally considered March 18th to about March 22nd. And again, depending on, what astrological chart you're looking at and what part of the world, Pisces officially stops on March 19th or 20th. So Pisces Aries cusp people, you'll be experiencing or noticing the energies of these transits more near the end and right after the dates that I mentioned for Pisces Decan 3. Okay, so we are talking right now about, what are we talking about? Oh yeah, Pluto in Capricorn sextile the Pisces Sun. So as I mentioned before, Pluto is the planet of big money. It is the planet of death and rebirth, kind of big unexpected change. It also can represent oppression. It can represent power struggles, so it's not the easiest planet to deal with. And it has been tough, Pluto being in the sign of Capricorn. Capricorn, I think Pluto might rule Capricorn. So Capricorn's a sign that's very hardworking. And I mean, I love Capricorns. I have a lot of, I don't know if most of my friends are mostly water signs. I don't have a lot. But I just like Capricorns usually when I interact with them. But they are, they respond to crisis by a need to control and fix. And that's not always a bad thing. But that combined with the energy of Pluto can be, a little tense for us water signs who are a little bit more, kind of go with the flow, flexible, emotional, sensitive, intuitive. And so that's been kind of tough, but Pisces does form a beautiful harmonious sextile to Capricorn. And sextile is a wonderfully harmonious angle that actually compels the energy of the planetary influences at play to function on a strongly intellectual world of ideas. So if you have a sextile to an important planet like your sun, which is basically your, it's your ego, but it's also your overall being and your life force. So when your sun is experiencing a sextile transit with such a strong planet such as Capricorn, you're actually able to handle some of that energy a little bit more effectively. So you find it easier to, even though Mercury's in retrograde right now as I record this, so please forgive me if there's any, ironic combination here of me stumbling on my words and talking about communicating effectively, but you do find it easier to communicate complex ideas. Mentality can be sharpened. You find you are more inspired, more curious, you're inventive and communicative when you have a sextile to a major planet. I should have worn these earrings, they're a little bit distracting. You are more empowered to be solution focused, and you find that you meet less resistance from the environment than at other times. For whatever reason, it's just the harmony of that 60-degree angle. If there is an oppressive force, you know how to work against that force. If you're motivated to do that, you have more ability to turn a problem around on its butt and overcome it, okay? So even with all of the chaos that Pluto can bring, Pisces, I'll go over the dates, but you have either recently surprised yourself, or you will surprise yourself very soon with how you can use foresight, creativity, clarity, attention to detail, endurance, maybe even some diplomatic communication or a little spiritual jujitsu to manage chaotic or oppressive energies wisely and successfully. Okay? So going over the dates of when a Pisces Sun will experience this sextile. So Pisces born between around March 11th to March 18th, you are going to be experiencing this harmonious sextile with your Sun to the sign of Pluto for most of 2023. In fact, you experience mostly the chaotic energies. My son is like banging around upstairs. I don't know what's happening. I'm sorry if you can overhear that. But you experienced a lot of those chaotic energies of Capricorn and Pluto, but you started to manifest into that sextile and harness your strengths in 2022. Okay, and so for Pisces or Pisces Aries cusp, so born from March 19th to March 20th, you'll be experiencing this sextile most strongly near the end of the year until Pluto enters Aquarius on January 20th, 2024. So just when others thought that the destructive force of Pluto was going to mess everything up, you, clever, intuitive, flexible, and insightful Pisces, came in and you did some spiritual jujitsu on the ass. Or if you're an earth sign rising, maybe you did some practical judo. Either way, you came out back on your feet. And if you haven't yet, you will. If you're still dealing, if you're a really late Pisces and you're still dealing with some of the chaos of Pluto, just pay attention to detail. Truly believe in yourself. Keep that solution-focused mindset. Speak up when you need to, and you will persevere. Okay? I also want to note on the dates of Pluto, just so that, you know, if you are into planning on these things like I personally am. Gosh, so loud up there. So Pluto is in the last degrees of Capricorn until March 23rd, 2023. So this is Pisces. Jeez, I just told them I was going to be recording a video. This is until March 23rd, 2023. So this is for Pisces Decan 3 and Pisces Aries cusp. And then it briefly goes into Aquarius, and those energies are a whole nother beautiful ball of wax that I can talk about in another forecast or another video. But then it retrogrades back into Capricorn and returns into the sign of Capricorn on June 11th, 2023. So it will be retrograding. So Pisces Aries cusp, and late Pisces, you will be experiencing that sextile. During this retrograde, especially as Pluto is back into Capricorn, starting on June 11th, 2023, this will be a great time for both Pisces and Cancers of all decans, but especially Pisces of the third decan, to go back and revise. It's been a tough year. You have been forced to stand up for yourself and to, come up with agreements within difficult challenges. So go back and revise some of those agreements. Just retrogrades are a great time in general to look and revise anything that you have put into place for your life or the lives of the people that you take care of. So look through agreements, contracts, insurance plans, anything that you have established over the past several years while Pluto has been in Capricorn. Go through it with a fine-tooth comb. If your intuition even nudges you to do that, just do it, okay? It's going to be in your best interest. If you find anything that you missed, you'll be able to use as Pluto, you'll be able to plan, and then as Pluto is going back direct, you will be able to take care of any unfinished business that you need to take care of in order to keep your feet on the ground. So keep that solution-focused mindset. Speak up when you think it's right. Be meticulous, be wise, and fight for the good results that you deserve. Okay? All right, cool. And just because life is not just about surviving and persevering, it's also about enjoying. As we move forward into 2023, we get a nice burst of sweet sentimental energy as the full moon goes into 16 degrees of Cancer and it trines your sun. So full moon is generally more an emotional time. And the full moon in Cancer, so the moon is the ruler of Cancer. Cancer is the most nurturing, sensitive, sweet sign in the zodiac, aside from Pisces. But they're very, affectionate and nurturing. And so there will be a lot of this emotion. The full moon is always in opposition to the sun. So the sun will be in Capricorn, probably exactly 16 degrees, right? Mercury will also be in retrograde in Capricorn at that time, 17 degrees of Capricorn. So, for a lot of people, emotions will be high, okay? And there will probably be some misunderstandings in communication, especially when people's emotions are all over the place. But you Pisces, especially Pisces born between March 1st and March 10th, that's really the key date for the trine, the key birth date for the trine to your sun. You will find more sense of inner harmony. So basically, when the sun is trine your moon, this is experienced as a more pleasant feeling. This aspect will be most strong, for decan to Pisces. And if you are aware and observant of your feelings rather than reactive to them, this will be experienced as an incredibly pleasant time when you feel in harmony with yourself, as well as in harmony or at least very understanding of the emotional energies around you. So if you have like somebody in your life, especially probably a Cancer or a child or even a pet, like who's, I don't want to infantilize Cancer sun, but if you have anybody who's in need of I need some nurturing, my moon's in Cancer, I'm very sensitive. If you have anyone who just needs TLC in your life, that's just a nice time that you can use that energy for good. Or if you just personally just kind of want to take some moments to reflect and be kind to yourself, this is a good time to do that, okay? Generally, the sun moon trine, so when the moon is trine your sun placement, this is generally a great day to socialize. Though with a full moon in the sensitive sign of Cancer, it might just be a lovely day to reach out to just someone special, you know, if you're not in the mood for socializing with a big group of people. But you will feel a very nice, harmonious, you know, emotional energy within yourself, because your sun is your overall being, it's your life force, and that will be trying a full moon in Cancer, okay? And so then we get another nice burst of positive, loving energy as Venus, knocking around, you probably can't even hear it. I'm so sensitive to sound, it's, I don't know. Anyway, as Venus moves into Pisces on January 6th. So Venus will be in Pisces from January 26th until February 20th. Venus is a planet of spontaneous attraction. In its highest manifestation, Venus is the planet of emotional connection, emotion that brings two people together. It is tenderness, affection, understanding, mutual support with enthusiasm. It's also a sign of refinements and beauty, not just in the superficial sense, but also in the more important emotional sense. It's also a social planet, and one of its most pleasant effects is to bring access to more happy social occasions. So these aren't just going to happen if you're not reaching out to people or if you're not participating in social occasions. But if you are, you might find that this placement of Venus brings about a positive influence for these positive energies. They're more available. So your sun sign placement being your overall life force, when it's conjunct Venus, you'll notice a short but very pleasant boost of positive energy where you may feel more affectionate towards your friends, or you may be a little bit more open to socializing than you generally are. If you are a more introverted Pisces, which many Pisces are, I don't tend to be because I'm close to Aries and I have some planets in Aries, but for the majority of Pisces, especially in the middle, Pisces, you know, you tend to be more really like typical Pisces. This just might be a nice time to do some redecorating in the house to create a more aesthetically pleasing environment for yourself. So you don't necessarily have to socialize more, but you just kind of enjoy the beauty and refinements a little bit more. So Pisces born between February 18th to March 1st will notice this influence right away, starting around January 26th. Pisces Decan 2 will experience this closer to the beginning of February, and Decan 3, you'll experience this starting around February 12th. So if it's either a time where, you know, you might call up some friends you haven't seen in a while, or you just might decide to paint a wall or, you know, whatever. clean your living room and put some decorations out. All right? So you use it however you want to. Either way, you can enjoy this harmonious aspect of Pisces in Venus in your fellow sun sign for the whole 25 days. You don't just have to wait till your decan is exactly conjunct. This is just really a nice energy for all water signs. Okay, and so 2023 also starts off with Mercury, the planet of communication, retrograde in Capricorn. Now remember, Pisces and Capricorn actually do form a nice sextile. So in a moment, I will discuss how your sun sextile the planet of Mercury can be manifested per your choice if you choose in its optimal way. But let's first talk about Mercury retrograde. So a lot of people talk about how annoying Mercury in retrograde can be. And it's true. Mercury is in retrograde right now as I make this video. And I'm having a hard time communicating because I'm hearing all this crazy noise happening upstairs and I don't know what it is. And I'm wondering, are the floors getting scratched? Is the furniture gonna break? Is somebody gonna get hurt? But I gotta chill out. Even though my moon's in Cancer and I wanna go up there and take care of everything, I just gotta chill out and do this video. So that's what I'm gonna do. Okay. So, it can be a really annoying time. It's one of those times like when you're using talk to text and you're telling your, boyfriend or girlfriend, hey, I'm just gonna sit down, and the text says something that you're gonna do something else that rhymes with sit, but you don't know that because you think the talk to text works because it's been working, but when Mercury went retrograde, it stopped working. And so it says something that you didn't mean to say, but you don't know, and you just press send, and you're like, I can't wait till our next date. And then you realize that you told them something really gross, and they don't want to see you anymore. So that's Mercury in retrograde, okay? Or like your mail gets sent to like Springfield, Virginia, instead of Springfield, Ohio. Or, your flights get canceled. All kinds of really annoying stuff happens when Mercury is in retrograde. All right. Now, despite all of these annoyances, retrograde can also be a time to review, revise, and revisit like old issues around communication that either weren't previously clarified or that needed to be resolved and weren't addressed. So in that way, Mercury can actually sometimes be a positive thing, okay? So I'm like, okay. So Mercury, I can't even talk. It's like 12 o'clock and Mercury's in retrograde right now. I'm tired, I just got off of like 6 hours of meetings and then I went and did my makeup for this video and I'm just like, what's happening? Anyways, so, Mercury is retrograde in Capricorn starting December 29th, 2022 until January 18th, 2023, when it finally goes direct at 8 degrees of Capricorn. And then it travels through Capricorn until February 11th when it enters Aquarius. Okay. So those with your sun between 8 to around 26 degrees of Pisces, so that's Decan 2 and Decan 3 essentially, you'll be noticing this retrograde, but you might be able, if you practice patience and you double check stuff, you might be able to use it more in an advantageous way, because during the Mercury retrograde, Mercury will be sextile your sun. So you might use retrograde more to pay attention to detail, to analyze, assess, kind of revise. Especially if you work for like Southwest Airlines, you might want to be like, what went wrong here? I bet you, like, somebody's going to come up, they're going to figure it out. Some Pisces, person is just going to be like, I know what happened, and they're going to fix it, right? Okay, so you're going to just be able to assess. And then when Mercury goes direct on January 18th, this sextile aspect will still be there, but Mercury will be direct, and those are favorable conditions for more clear, direct communication, and in my case, pronunciation. Okay? So English is was my second language. Now it's my first, but it wasn't the first language I learned. So just give me a break. All right? So this is actually a great aspect to pay attention to detail, because sextiles with Mercury are particularly positive, okay? They compel the energy of the planetary influences that are at play to function mainly in the intellectual world of ideas. So Mercury being the planet of communication, you find it easier to communicate complex ideas when it's not in retrograde. Mentality can be sharpened, and you find that you are inspired to be more curious or inventive, while also articulate and communicative. Just maybe if you have like a really important message to communicate, wait until it goes direct. Unless you really don't care about grammar and pronunciation and you just want to get your point across, and you don't really care who you offend, then just do it whenever you want. Okay? Right. Also, when Mercury is sextile your sun, again, wait until it goes direct, but this is also a really great time for travel. Again, you don't want to get a canceled flight, so wait until after, what was that date, January 18th? Yeah, January 18th. Wait until January 18th if you're planning travel, but this actually is a good time for travel, especially business travel. This is because your communication is supported. So if you're going to a networking event where you'll be communicating with a lot of people, or you're doing any type of presentation, you will find that after Mercury's direct, you're able to communicate your ideas with clarity and with calm confidence. These positive effects are more likely to be experienced after Mercury goes direct on January 18th. But still, take advantage of the retrograde if you want to like revise something that you've already written, or you have like something that's near and dear to your heart, but you kind of need to revamp it. Mercury retrograde is a good time to do that. Okay? All right, so let's move on. I'm getting tired of talking about Mercury. Ooh. Right, well, yeah, so when it is in retrograde before the 18th, though, I have some more points about this, that it is a good time to review and revise communication protocols or look for opportunities for creative change with your communication and others. You're more likely able to pinpoint if something went wrong in the past regarding communication or communication protocol. You're more likely able to pinpoint exactly where that happened and be able to communicate that, after the 18th. Okay. And so there's also this interesting window of time between January 26th and February 11th, where transiting Venus is in Pisces and transiting Mercury is in Capricorn. So depending on your sun placement, you may be experiencing one or two of these positive transits. You may be experiencing a conjunction from Venus to your sun, and or a sextile from Mercury to your sun. But in addition, during this window of time between January 26th and February 11th, there's also a sextile between Venus and Mercury in the atmosphere. I'm thinking about let's talk about all the good things and the bad things that may be. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about Venus, the planet of love, Mercury, the planet of communication. They have this beautiful sextile. Okay, harmonious. You can talk about, difficult things and it's not really like a big deal. So for sexually active adults, who are in a safe relationship, this might be a good time to talk about, so Pisces Decan 1 and Decan 2, you are experiencing the conjunction of Venus to your sun sign during this time. Pisces Decan 2 and Decan 3, you will experiencing the sextile between Mercury and your sun during this time. So Pisces, born between roughly March 2nd through 10th, you're in the sweet spot, right? You're getting a really nice, like, triple dose of this favorable transit, okay, during this time between the 26th and February 11th. But on a more serious note, though, this might actually be a really good time to communicate important matters in relationships more clearly. If you're in a healthy and safe relationship where communication is supported, this is an opportunity to make that relationship even better. Or, outside of like sexual relationship matters, Venus also supports, familiar relationships and family relationships, friend relationships and aesthetics, so you might be able to communicate with a designer about, what you want in your house. If you have that kind of money to hire a designer and you want to do that, go ahead, have it, waste your money. Or no, I'm sorry, don't waste your money. Designers are awesome. But whatever, just you can communicate with anybody, exactly the color you want on your wall. You can communicate, like if you're working with your kids on something, this is a great time to communicate with them. Or if you're in a relationship that isn't really that great or isn't that satisfying, or maybe it's even a situationship. I've heard that word a couple times recently. If you want to clarify your expectations and boundaries, this would be a good time to do that if you want to. I don't know, it's, each their own. But this can be a time that supports clarity and matters, close to the heart, and also a time to communicate about things if you are in a partnership where that is supportive and safe. So unfortunately, I feel like I have to say that. All right, so on March 2nd, Mercury enters Pisces and stays there until March 19th. So in this case, Mercury is conjunct your sun. All right, so this transit supports, so Mercury, planet of communication, is conjunct your sun. It's your ego energy, but it's also your life force and your overall being. So it's your life force and your overall being in the 3D world. So that's why it's also your ego energy. So your clarity of purpose becomes stronger in anything that you are involved in. Your mind is a little bit clearer and you are more conscious of your purpose in anything that you are engaged in. You are able to express yourself with more vigor, and if you want to make an impression on anyone, this is a good time to do that. If you are faced with any opposition during this time, you are able to more vitally stand up for yourself and for your point of view. So the benefit of this can be subjective depending on your communication style and your communication baseline, obviously. So if you're a more passive Pisces in general, this might be a great time to practice more assertive communication. So the dates between March 2nd to March 19th. If you tend to already be assertive, this is still a good time to practice being assertive, but do so in a way where you are also open and maybe even supportive of someone else's subjective experience. I really wish I could pause the video to find out what's going on upstairs. So this can be applied in professional situations and social situations, and even in romantic relationships. And also, if you're a really introverted Pisces and you want to come out of your shell a little bit, this is only if you want to, you don't have to. But this is a really, really great time. You know, if you want to come out of your shell, you want to practice being more outgoing or, you know, comfortable with things like public speaking, this is a great time to join like a Toastmasters meeting. I don't know if you've heard of that, but it's a kind of a group. It's kind of like a support group, sort of. I believe that they meet nationally. So if you're, and I'm sure that they have to have groups in Europe and other parts of the world as well by now, because I first found out about them when I was working in DC like 10 years ago. So I think that they've, you know, expanded now. But it's basically a place where people practice public speaking and they support each other. And so I know that they have Toastmasters groups, at least in all the metropolitan areas in the United States. And so if you're a more introverted Pisces, during this time, this would be a great thing to do if you want to do that. You know, if that's something you're interested in, like kind of, you know, doing to grow and change for you. And so the reason why this is so good is because you're kind of living in that energy in real time, and you're harnessing that energy, that positive energy, and experiencing it, so that later, you know, when you want to communicate with a group or you want to be more assertive or do a, you know, speak publicly, you can harness that energy again. You have that memory inside of you of that physical experience of being there with that group, speaking your mind or giving a presentation and being supported. And so you can pull on that positive energy again at a later time. So that's just an idea, some food for thought, because I know us Pisces, we do have a very introverted side. And Pisces who are introverted tend to be like a little bit more so. So that's just why I'm saying that. Okay, so also in a moment, I would like to invite you on a brief journey to the planet of Neptune. But before we go there together, I'd also like to visit Saturn. So in 2023, we have Saturn entering Pisces on March 7th. Okay. So when Saturn is conjunct your Sun, Saturn really kind of motivates you to be stronger. It's a time to either enhance, especially when it's conjunct your sun sign, your overall being. It's a time, and your ego. It's a time to either enhance or adjust the structure that you began building about 14 years ago when Saturn was exactly opposite your sun. So when Saturn was in the sign of Virgo, a lot of Pisces were kind of faced with not necessarily, they might have been faced with some form of financial hardship or something, you know, that was challenging their long-term stability. And so a lot of Pisces, you know, depending on what phase of life you were in, you know, most Pisces were either inspired or called to, or basically, you know, kind of were like, well, I kind of have to do this, were driven to build some sort of structure for yourself, you know, whether it was building a resume or building, you know, a skill set or building a retirement account or building a stable home life for raising children, you know, whatever it was, you were called to use your practical abilities and your awareness of limits of the 3D world, because that's what Saturn resembles, You are called to use your awareness of that and practicality and resilience to build something for yourself around 14 years ago. Okay. So 14 years later, when Saturn's conjunct your sun, this is essentially about assessing what you have built over the past 14 years. And it's not necessarily yet a time to exhale, unfortunately. It would be nice if it was, but that's okay because you're strong and you've got this. But it is about enhancing or creating a plan to tweak or adjust whatever it is that you started 14 years ago so that it continues to be sustainable. Okay, so as I mentioned, Saturn can at times be looked at as the planet of structure and 3D world limitations. But it is also the planet of opportunities for growing and becoming stronger. So Saturn teaches us the limits that we might be dealing with in this 3D world, but it also helps us take responsibility for manifesting our own strengths and our own abilities independently. You know, it kind of helps us to grow up. It forces people to get organized, to learn practical and useful skills, to, just hit the ground running, just establish structure and stability. So it really does encourage you to take responsibility and to use your abilities for a purpose. All right, so the best way to use Saturn conjunct your sun is by being pragmatic about how your current plan works or doesn't work for sustainability and tweaking it in a way that is supportive of either continued or new success, kind of depending on where your honest assessment of where you are stands. And as I mentioned, even though it's, even if you have been working really hard, it's not quite yet a time to put your hands behind your head and your feet up. With Saturn conjunct your sun, there's still some obligation, whether it's obligation to community, maybe you have a certain skill, maybe you're a respiratory therapist and, with all these things that have been going around, you have people who are just depending on you, maybe you're an EMDR therapist and, you're there, you have to, support these, EMT workers and ER staff so that they can keep helping other people physically survive, So there might be some sort of like moral obligation that you have where even if you're financially okay and you don't have kids or you have, a spouse who makes money or you're a trust fund baby, you're still going to have some sort of obligation to the community. Or, it could be that you have children and you're obligated to keep working to be there for them until they are completely independent or, whatever it is, there's still some sort of obligation that you can't really stop whatever it is that you started 14 years ago. And it doesn't always necessarily mean, even though you have to keep at whatever you're doing and make it sustainable, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to work harder. It might actually just mean working smarter. It might mean cutting out some expenses, if you're really planning far ahead and you're thinking, well, my kids need me and my energy, but, I want to have this 10-year plan. And so let's cut out some expenses to make that sustainable. Or it could be I don't know, what other examples are there? It could even just be that you work so hard at establishing a positive domestic situation and structure for your children, and you've been doing that for 14 years, and you're kind of ready to, like, you know, chill out or maybe do something different, but you can't because, you know, you want to be there for your last kid who's, you know, just started high school or something. So there's still some sort of obligation there, even if you've done a great job. But you might tweak things just to make it sustainable, you know, like maybe, you know, you're like, well, wait a minute, you know, I only have one kid now, and when they're in high school, you know, I can go and I can start, you know, working part-time during the day, or I can go to these exercise classes. You know, I don't have to be like picking them up. They're big now, you know, so you can tweak things if you want, depending on your situation. So that's what Saturn conjunct your sun is. Also, another important thing to mention is that you might find that you need to tweak things to make them more sustainable for your personal health. Like if you're a workaholic or you've been working in a very stressful field, you might find that in order to make what you're, you know, in order to stay in what you're doing and make it sustainable, you have to change your schedule, or you have to, you know, create certain boundaries so that you can maintain your health. You know, if you're an ER worker or a trauma therapist or, you know, a doctor, you might find that, you know, you need to set some limits and not be on call every week, or, you know, whatever it is, in order to continue on in this obligation that's important to you for whatever reason. Usually often if it's, you know, with Saturn, it's a financial reason, but it can also be like, you know, if whatever's the kind of more driving force in your life, it can also be a moral obligation as well. So that's Saturn for you in a nutshell. All right. So during this time, you are kind of assessing like how successful, you know, has your plan been since 14 years ago when you started it. And it's important not to allow the negativity bias to influence you, because with Saturn especially, I mean, human beings, we are kind of prone to the negativity bias. That's how we have survived. And especially with Saturn, we tend to look at everything we didn't do and not give ourselves credit for the things we did do. So if you assess that what you've been working on over the past 15 or 14 years hasn't been as successful as you'd hoped it would be, you still, you know, it's important to still give yourself credit. If you have been doing your personal best and putting forth effort, it is really important to be kind to yourself. Give yourself credit, okay? Just take this as an opportunity to look at things like through a more informed lens. If you've been putting honest effort, give yourself credit, and just kind of tell yourself you're now just looking through things through a more pragmatic and practical way, just for improved sustainability. So Saturn conjunct your sun is really there to support you and taking responsibility for harnessing your strengths and making use of them. If you have to make adjustments for practical sustainability, it's important to note that if you have been doing your best up until now with the information you've had so far, then you do deserve a pat on the back, okay? Because your personal best is more than good enough. You are just called now to think about, you know, what's really pragmatic, sustainable for the future. That's what Saturn does. And so if luck has been on your side, you might not have to make that many adjustments. And if it hasn't been, well, then you're strong enough and smart enough to make the adjustments that are needed. And it's important that you hold your head up high and you believe in yourself as you do that, okay? Because Saturn, is a tough energy, but it's what, makes you stronger, so you can handle it. All right. And, this doesn't apply to everybody, right? Like there are some people, did you hear that? I know you had to hear that. There's like, what's happening? I thought he was doing computer programming. Sounds like he's like playing volleyball up there or something. Whatever. But there are people, who haven't been doing their best, right? I mean, there are a few people out there. Saturn conjunct your sun just may create the opportunity for you to, maybe be a little bit more honest with yourself about, whether or not you've been kind of carrying the weight that you can carry if you're a capable adult, and hopefully adjusting sail accordingly. Okay. So now let's visit beautiful Neptune. All right. This beautiful, mystic, and mysterious planet called Neptune. Neptune, the ruler of Pisces, has been in Pisces since April 4th of 2011. So it's been there for over 11 years. And it will be there until 2026. So during the year of 2023, transiting Neptune will be conjunct the sun of Pisces, born between March 11th and March 18th. Okay, so there's so many weird noises happening tonight. So I think that's coming from someone else's yard. So it's like a fox. I never knew, like that. I live in like the middle of nowhere, and these foxes, they make the weirdest noises. What did the fox say? All right. So as a Western astrologer, I think a lot of astrologers have a similar viewpoint. I don't want to speak for everybody, but we look at the energies around us and we think of astrology as kind of a spiritual lens to look for opportunities to grow, to learn, to evolve. How can humanity evolve on this planet with the energies surrounding us as we live on this planet? So whether or not you believe in reincarnation or you believe in souls, I personally do. And so I think of it as like astrology is basically like a way for us to assess how do we in this life, with this birth on this planet, use the energies around us to learn and evolve. Okay, so I've talked a little bit about Mercury and Saturn and Pluto and Venus and the moon, and now I'm talking about Neptune. And so I just want to give a heads up. Neptune is the planet of spirituality. It is the planet of the mystic. It's actually the ruler of Pisces. So I don't know why more astrologers are not talking about this. Maybe I just don't watch enough TV, or I don't read enough about astrology lately. I still have all my old books and my beliefs, but I guess maybe I've just been working too much. I just haven't been paying attention, but I haven't really heard astrologers talking about Pisces and Neptune. Neptune is the ruler of Pisces. Like, I think it's just because it's a controversial topic, okay? Because Neptune is the planet of spirituality, and therefore it's also the planet that rules religion, right? So I just want to make it clear that astrology, at least the way I practice and the way I view it, astrology is not about ever saying that any one religion is right or wrong. Astrology is, in my view, is inclusive of all humanity's experience and belief. Astrology is the way that I interpret it in my heart, in my mind, in my soul, is that it includes and embraces and really loves all the human manifestations of spirituality and whatever religion or belief system or experience that may be, you know, because a lot of people don't have a religion, but they're incredibly spiritual, they're incredibly connected, but maybe they're more connected through altruism or connected through Mother Earth or other forms of science or metaphysics, you know, which, by the way, there is a nice place where metaphysics and spirituality meet, and we are discovering more and more about that every day. So even if you don't believe in astrology, like it doesn't matter. Like you're when I talk about astrology, I'm talking about my beliefs, right, and my experience. But I respect every belief, okay? Because we're all human beings and we all have different ways of interpreting whatever we experience. And we, you know, and one person's experience or one person's religion or one person's belief is just one manifestation of the beautiful interpretation of, you know, one group of human experience. And that's just one part and one piece of the puzzle. And they're all beliefs have, you know, matter. All beliefs are important. So the belief that astrology isn't real, that's fine. You know, like, you have valid beliefs too. We all do. So I just want to put that out there, because as I'm talking about Neptune and its influence on human spirituality and religion, I just want to be clear that this is just one belief, okay? And if we can look through for the unity between our beliefs and support each other, that's really the most beautiful thing. All right, as we evolve, we kind of start to figure out how to do that. We start to figure out, oh, hey, you know, maybe the whole world doesn't believe the exact same thing that I was told to believe and that, you know, I chose to believe when I was, you know, however old. You know, we start to understand that the world is much more complex and deep than that. All right. So, so Neptune is the eraser of boundaries. It dissolves blockages between the material world and the divine and mystical world. In fact, you might notice that since Neptune has been in Pisces, modalities that explore and utilize the mystical energetic world and subconscious realm for healing have become more mainstream. Right? So Pisces and Virgo, traditionally in Western astrology, are the signs of healing, okay? So they're opposite ends of the same spectrum. Pisces is the mystical, intuitive. Virgo is usually the more practical, more earth-based, but both of them are healers. So when Neptune, the mystic, the dreamer, the ruler of Pisces, is in the sign of Pisces, spiritual energies become, you know, become more, I think, available to us human beings living on this planet. All right, so people begin to be more in touch with the spiritual energies that surround them. And I really do want to point out how much more mainstream a lot of these energetic healing modalities have become, and you know that they've become even more utilized in mainstream medicine. There are a lot of doctors who are coming across like these somatic illnesses and even some of the autoimmune symptoms that they can't quite seem to treat. They can't quite seem to find a, you know, medical explanation for. probably a lot of times an acupuncturist could help heal it, or they're sending people to hypnotherapists, and insurance is covering it because hypnotherapy works with the subconscious, and the subconscious is what controls your central nervous system. And we're finally catching on to the power of the subconscious mind because Neptune is in Pisces. I don't know why nobody's talking about this. All right. I mean, there's even a Turkish movie on constellations therapy on Netflix. Okay. So wake up and smell the Turkish coffee, people. Even if you don't like lemon shavings, just freaking drink the Turkish coffee and move on. All right. Like, things are changing. Sorry. All right. So that's just my little rant. So basically, we are like finally waking up to the power of our subconscious mind, and the power that our energetic being has on our actual physical health. I do think Neptune in Pisces is really pushing that along. It's a long time coming. I mean, we have had that, manifestation in the past, but we weren't quite as evolved, so there was still a lot of religious dogma. That's a vulnerability. That is a vulnerability of Neptune and Pisces, is religious dogma, fanaticism, cults, because Pisces is the sign of belief. Pisces' motto is, I believe. And so when Neptune, the planet of spirituality and mysticism and, the world beyond the 3D, is in the sign of Pisces, humanity really kind of explores this dichotomy between, religious dogma and letting your, beliefs, your ego, whatever's like identifying with your ego, or whatever you were taught, or whatever your instincts and feelings are telling you, to really identify with those so strongly that you refuse to accept that there are other beliefs out there, versus being like truly spiritual. Like, actually, like, Pisces generally is thought of as the sign without ego, that's thought of the sign that's really open-minded and accepting and spiritual. And so the opposite of that is saying, I have my spiritual beliefs. I believe in what I see and what I feel, but I'm able to be objective and understand that there are other human experiences out there, and that they're all valid, and that they're all interpreting the energies that they're picking up on, or they're interpreting their experience in another beautiful way that's different than mine. And it still matters, and it's important, and it's valid. So that's the highest manifestation of Neptune in Pisces. And I believe as a human race, we are working toward that. And I think during this time, we have made some progress. And we still have a few more years with Neptune in Pisces. So I'm excited to see where it goes, with the conjunction of Saturn going into Pisces. Maybe we will evolve a little bit more, or, maybe we'll talk more openly about our spiritual evolution. We've known everything's made of energy for quite a while now, but with Neptune in Pisces, I hope that we are becoming more aware of the actual not limitations, that's Saturn, sorry, implications of that, okay? So Neptune is the planet that rules spirituality. So I definitely want to be careful not to impose my spiritual beliefs on anyone. So if you're watching this video, I assume that you believe in astrology, or you are open to astrology. If you don't believe in astrology, I respect you, and I respect that you have a different experience than I do. right? You experience a different way of relating to the world than I do, and you might have a completely different spiritual experience or a completely different religious experience or completely different intellectual or emotional experience. And maybe we have some things in common or we don't, but either way, I respect you, okay? Your experience is just as valid as anybody else's, including mine. All right, so I just want to preface my discussion of Neptune and Pisces with that. Astrology doesn't ever tell anyone to say that their experience is ever more valid than another human's experience. And there is so much in this world that we do not understand. And so even though my beliefs are strong and I maintain that awareness regarding my experience, I would never say that they're less than or more than any other human being's experience. The highest, so if you believe in astrology, which is hopefully why you turned on this video, you would know that the highest manifestation of Neptune in Pisces is to have our own deep spiritual beliefs and understand that people understand. That's a key word. That is like one of the strengths of Pisces, is to understand. Okay, so Neptune's in Pisces right now, so we have to be understanding of each other. Okay, even though we've had some problems with that, like we need to start doing that. Okay. So that is the highest manifestation of Pisces, right? That you are understanding that other people have different beliefs than you, and you can still respect that, that you can still honor that. I wrote this like 2 hours ago and I'm forgetting even what I wrote. And just understand that people have different beliefs, that they still have their own deep spiritual beliefs. And just because someone's beliefs are different than yours doesn't mean that they're any better or any less than you. We all have our own way of relating to the world, of connecting to our inner source, of, we have our own unique way of connecting maybe to the source that we all share and we're not even quite aware of it yet. Who knows, right? But we have to respect each other's experience as a valid human experience. And so when we can do that, according to Western astrology, as I understand that, that is the highest manifestation of Neptune in Pisces. Okay. Pisces is the sign of the believer. Our motto is I believe. And, historically, the lowest manifestation of Neptune in Pisces has been, religious dogma, fanaticism, cult-like thinking. That's sort of the lower manifestation of Neptune in Pisces. It's that mindset of like my religion, and my spiritual beliefs and everything, that my religion is what the truth is and everybody else is wrong. That's old, right? That's old stuff. I'm really hoping that we have evolved from that. That type of thinking actually had catastrophic had a catastrophic impact on my personal life, on my son's life. It's had an impact on my ancestors, you know. I just, you know, and plenty of people have suffered and caused suffering, you know, because of this idea. I would like to think that we've learned from it by now. So that's my soapbox. I hope I haven't offended anyone. But when we are able to experience Neptune's beauty in a balanced way, from my readings and my interpretations, is that we are capable of honoring and experiencing our own spirituality, and our own belief systems, but also understanding that that is just one beautiful way that humanity might interpret a larger truth that we all share. And that there are so many other people who interpret that truth or their own truth differently. Some people pray to Allah, some people pray to God, some people pray to Mother Earth, some people, you know, pray to Obama, you know, whatever. Like, I do not care, you know, as long as it's something that you feel that's true in your heart, and it's something that you feel, you know, you have good intentions with, then that's really all that matters. As long as you're not hurting anybody, as long as you're manifesting love, that's what matters. Okay? So we're all right, as long as that's where we're coming from. Okay. And you know, with Neptune conjunct your Sun, so this is a transit for Pisces, right? But I'd like to think that Neptune is becoming more spiritually and more spiritually aligned with a higher manifestation of Pisces. But historically, you know, some of the books I've studied, you know, they're from the 70s. You know, I've been doing this for quite a long time. But historically, Neptune conjunct somebody's Sun in any sign usually can represent vulnerability to allowing your emotions to drive your beliefs. So, you know, fear-based beliefs, you know, religious dogma, as I spoke about earlier, and also even wishful thinking. So it is a good time for people to practice mindfulness. Okay, like to just find that balance within yourself. Be in touch with your central nervous system. Take care of yourself physically and mentally. Whatever practice you have, you know, whether it's meditating or praying or reading the Bible or reading the Quran or going on nature walks, practicing positive affirmations, thinking altruistic thoughts, deep breathing, all of these things that support you and feeling connected to your energetic and spiritual source, and that support you in feeling relaxed and happy and calm. It's so important to practice those things, because then you remain in a balanced state of mind. And when you do that, you're more connected to your central nervous system. And your subconscious mind controls your central nervous system. So if you can consciously be in touch with that part of yourself, then your conscious mind and your subconscious mind are more aligned. And you're able to better tap into your intuition, your compass, which is your central nervous system, which is your heart-mind connection, is working for you. So that when you experience intense emotions, you can honor them and observe them and integrate them rather than react to them or, you know, let them kind of, you know, throw you off course, throw you off balance, or dictate your behavior in any way, shape, or form. So this is a very important time to take care of yourself. Okay. And yeah, it's just a good, it's also a good time if you're comfortable with it. You know, well, Neptune's in Pisces, not just conjunct your sun, but when Neptune's in Pisces, it is a really good time just for humanity in general, if you're comfortable with it, to take some time to learn about other people's spiritual experiences, other people's religions. You know, I was fortunate that, you know, I was born I'm obviously in the United States. I was born in a foreign country, and then we moved to a town where I was exposed to all different kinds of religions. So I kind of grew up with this naivete of like that, you know, all religions, you know, everybody was kind of like kumbaya, and nobody thought somebody was better than the other, and we all just kind of, you know, lived in this melting pot and respected each other. But then, you know, I experienced the opposite as I got older, and I realized that's not really how the world is. But while Neptune is in Pisces, just for the sake of humanity's evolution, you know, learn about other people's religions, learn about their traditions, learn about the god or gods that they worship, learn about what is that message, okay? And ask yourself, where's their common thread in the religion that I grew up with, or, you know, with the God that I worship? Is there a common thread there? What is that common thread? Please just take some time to do that. You know, if you grew up in a situation where you were told to cut yourself off from people who were different from you, or to, you know, not be open to people who have different experiences than you, break that cycle, please. There is a commonality between all of us. There is a common thread, and that common thread is love, and it's about freaking time that we discover it. Okay. So ask yourself, what are other people's spiritual beliefs? You know, what are their traditions? What messages do their gods or goddesses share? You know, or maybe they just worship nature, or maybe they just worship altruism. But what is that common message? Maybe it's harmony, maybe it's love, maybe it's trust, maybe it's acceptance. Just go and explore that. Open your mind. You know, because when we explore the commonalities, that's when we get closer to the actual truth. Okay, so I've just spoken a lot about Neptune and Pisces and the evolution, you know, of our spirituality as a human race. But, you know, I'll talk a little bit more about Neptune conjunct your sun. I think I've sort of covered it, right? Like Neptune conjunct your sun. We are, you know, you're vulnerable to believing what you want to believe or having fear-based beliefs. So stay in that window of tolerance, in that balanced place. The more mindfulness, the more meditation, the more self-care that you practice, it's easier to be in that beautiful window. If you're above that window, you know, of, you know, fear, then fear-based beliefs might take control. If you're below that window, there might be like disillusionment, you know, you know, that wishful thinking that didn't happen, so now I'm disillusioned and depressed, and, you know, I just don't want to take responsibility, and I want to feel sorry for myself. No, be in that balanced place. You have the power to make a choice how you take care of yourself and how you choose to look at the world. And so when you're in that balanced place, disillusionment or, you know, fanaticism, those things don't control you. you're more in touch with your intuition. You're more aligned with your central nervous system. Your conscious and your subconscious mind are working together in harmony and balance. And then you are able to make the best use of the intuition and the beautiful spiritual energy that Neptune has to offer. But Neptune, you know, it is an intense sign. It's a very spiritual. It does lift that veil between the mystical world and the 3D world. So there can be a lot of hope and fear that comes along with kind of seeing past that veil. So when you are in a balanced state of mind, you don't let hope or fear or emotion control you. You are more in touch with your genuine intuition. And you know that your subjective experience, although it is valid and although it is important, it is not the end all and be all of all the truth in the world. That we all have truths to share. And that when we can share them with each other with an open heart and an open mind, that's when we come to the universal truth. And that's when we come to love. Because when we love each other unconditionally, no matter what our personal idiosyncrasies or beliefs or backgrounds are, that we recognize each and every individual as an important and valid human being. So that's my message for Pisces for 2023. I know I went on a little rant. This is obviously an emotional topic for me, but I do hope that it was beneficial. And please, I promise I'll be a little more succinct in future videos. If you'd like to see forecasts for other sun signs or other rising signs or moon signs, or if you want to support my video, my channel, I do have to budget my time, so I want to do as much as I possibly can. If you appreciate my energy, if you appreciate, that I pour my heart into this, and you'd like to see more, please feel free to support my channel in any way that works for you, whether it's liking a video or subscribing or whatever works for you. I appreciate your time. Thank you for your patience, and Happy New Year, Pisces. Look in the mirror, Pisces. Remind yourself that when you take good care of yourself, you really can trust your inner compass, that your intuition leads you in the right place. Just be in touch with your heart, because that's where your truth is. Happy New Year.